Hi, I'm Andy from Open Road Scotland. Welcome. You're watching this video because either you've hired a van from us or you're thinking of hiring a van from us. This video today is going to help you understand the features of your motorhome. I'm going to explain everything clearly and it's going to make it easy for you when you're travelling and hopefully help you have a good holiday. Your van has a 240 volt hookup system, which means if you're staying at a campsite, you'll use a mains cable which we'll supply to hook the van up to the mains electricity supply. And you do that by lifting the white flap here and inserting the cable straight onto the side of the van. The other end of the cable will go into the supply point at the campsite. Also on the driver's side of the van, we have what we call your grey waste tap. Now when you're running water in the motorhome through the sink or the shower or the kitchen sink, that's what we call grey water, and that wastewater goes into your grey waste tank. Campsites have a dedicated disposal area for this grey water, and you will simply drive the van over a channel drain and then release the valve. If you're not staying at a campsite, it's okay to put this water down a standard mains drain like you would find on the roadside. Okay, so to do that, the pipe's located here. There's a valve on the side and we simply turn that into the horizontal position aligned with the pipe, and the grey waste will flow out. Once the grey water has all emptied out, you simply close back into the vertical position to close the pipe again. Okay, so this is unlikely to be the favourite part of your motorhome experience, but it is a necessary one, and it's emptying the chemical cassette toilet. Now your toilet is located behind the wall of the van here, and when you use the toilet, the waste drops down into a removable cassette which is situated behind the door here. Ideally, you want to empty that cassette every day into a campsite disposal area, a dedicated chemical toilet disposal area, certainly every second day. And to do that, you're going to open up the door here, simply lift the blue flap here and slide out the toilet cassette. Unscrew the cap here and then pour out the waste into the chemical disposal area. Afterwards, make sure you rinse out the cassette thoroughly and that it's clean and empty. Okay, once you've emptied and rinsed the cassette out, you're going to add in some toilet chemicals which are supplied with the van. You'll add in about 75 millilitres of this chemical, and this is just a chemical agent to help up the natural decomposition process of the waste in the cassette and to give it a fragrance smell. So 75 millilitres into the cap and then pour it back into the cassette and screw the cap back on. And then we'll replace the cassette back into the van. So you'll need to regularly fill your fresh water tank on the van. Very simple process to do that, and it's done here just where this white cover is. You simply put the key in there to open the flap, slide it up and then insert the hose that we've provided into the hole there and turn on your water supply. You don't need to worry about overfilling the tank because it does have an overflow on it, so when the tank is completely full, the water will start to overflow at the bottom of the van under here. For storage lockers, this van has an access point on both the passenger side and the driver's side, and typically in these storage lockers we will store things like camping tables, camping chairs, barbecues and maybe any outdoor equipment that you've got with you. It's particularly good for things like Wellington boots or mucky hiking boots, things that you don't want to take inside the van and get the interior dirty with. So this is just a lockable cabinet. The door opens up like that. You can see the space here. There's some space going round to the rear, and there's another door on the other side as well. And when you want to lock that, you're just going to use the habitation key there and put the locks into the vertical position. If you've hired our Highlander version with the bunk beds, then the rear storage area is on the passenger side at the rear of the van. Just going to open up the locks, turning them 180 degrees. That's going to open the door up there. And we can secure the door on the clip here. And then we have a large storage area underneath the bottom bunk bed. The hot water heater in the van can either work using electricity if you have a hookup at a campsite, or it can work from gas if you're wild camping. If you're operating it from gas, you need to remove this flue cover here at the rear of the van. You just simply clip it off. That allows your waste gases to escape as the boiler is burning. Now, if you forget to remove the cap, then the boiler has a safety cutout mechanism, which means the boiler just will not operate with this cap on. To replace it, you just clip it back on. Depending which model you've hired, your motorhome will either have a rear wall mounted cycle carrier or a cycle carrier mounted on the tow ball. On this model, you want to pull down the bike frame here to allow you to load the bikes onto it. It can be a little bit stiff, so give it a good pull down. There are two straps here and they'll fasten around the frame. You have 4 rails, so you can carry a maximum of 4 bikes or 60 kilos in total. So 1 bike per rail obviously. These move back and forth just to adjust to the wheel size and the width of your wheel spacing. And then you have the bars here which then secure around the frame of the bike. For the 4th rail here, we use this extender bar from the frame of the 3rd bike to the frame of the 4th bike. Okay, your gas system on the van is used for cooking, and it can also be used for heating and hot water. It's propane gas that's used in 6 kilo Calar gas refillable bottles, and it's in this door locker here on the near side of the van. To switch the gas on, there's a brass valve on the top of the bottle. You're going to turn that fully anti-clockwise, and that opens up your gas flow into the appliances in the van. The most important thing about gas is the safety perspective. When you're not using appliances, you should ideally switch the gas off at the bottle. But you must always switch the gas off at the bottle when the vehicle's in motion and you're driving. To do that, you just turn the gas valve fully clockwise until it's completely tightened. If you run out of gas during your trip, you'll need to swap over your empty cylinder for a full cylinder from any Calar gas stockists. Most campsites sell Calar gas, and lots of petrol stations and convenience stores also sell it. It's a very simple job to remove the bottle. You're just going to remove the pigtail connector by turning the connection here clockwise. The bottle then simply lifts out and you swap the empty bottle for a full bottle. Okay, common area of damage on motorhomes is always at the rear end. There's a pre-fitted reverse camera here on the high end of the vehicle which will assist you when you're reversing. However, if you've got passengers with you, I always suggest one of them is out helping the driver to reverse. It's very easy to misjudge and damage plastic bumper panels and what have you. So if you have someone with you, just use them, be extra careful. Another area to watch out for is the rear overhang of the vehicle. You have from the back axle to the end of the van a gap of about 1.6 metres. It's much longer than a normal car. So when you're cornering, it's important to give yourself plenty of room to get your back end round, and you don't, so you're basically not cutting any corners. So be careful with this as well. Also good to be aware of the height of the vehicle. It's 3.4 metres. So in summer in Scotland, sometimes you'll have some overhanging trees and things, and some of the narrow roads. So just watch your road position and remember the height of the vehicle that you're driving. And lastly, good to remember your wing mirrors as well. It's quite a wide vehicle and you've got extra long arm wing mirrors. So on narrower roads with oncoming traffic, it's sometimes it might be prudent just to pull in your wing mirror to avoid any smash of wing mirrors with an oncoming vehicle. The habitation door can either be unlocked using the vehicle key or the separate habitation key. Now that can be good if there's a group of you and you're not all with each other all day, so one group can have the habitation key and one group can have the vehicle key, and you've always got access in and out of the vehicle. So using the vehicle key, it's quite simple. One touch opens the door. We have a little button here which operates the mechanical step. Now we've found through previous experience that kids in particular quite like playing with the step button on these vans, pressing it to come out and pressing it to come back in. But excessive use of that can damage the motor on the step, and sometimes with kids standing on it and pressing the button at the same time it can cause damage to the motor, so it's best to avoid that if possible. Okay, inside the motorhome now. I'm going to start by switching the control panel on up here, which activates my 12 volt system. And as you can see, my lights and things have come on now. Up on the control panel we have a reading for the level of voltage in your leisure battery, the level of charge in our vehicle battery, activating the water pump. We switch that on, we can then have running water, and we have a switch to check how much fresh water we have in the fresh water tank, which gives us a reading of between 0 and 100%. So for cooking we have a 3-ring gas hob here and also a gas oven and grill underneath. Once we've switched the gas supply on at the exterior gas locker at the propane bottle, that's our gas supply activated to our appliances, and then we just simply turn on. The control knob here is for the oven and grill, and over to the left hand side ignites the oven. Back to the middle is off, and then over to the right activates the grill. Under no circumstances should the oven ever be used as a space heater. You have a separate heating system for the van. Okay, we have a 80 litre fridge in the kitchen area. It's what we call a 3-way fridge. So that means it can operate in any of 3 ways. It can operate on 240 volt mains power if you're at a campsite. It can operate on battery power, 12 volt when you're driving and have the engine on. And the third method of operation is gas. So if you're wild camping you can run it off the gas bottle. The first button here is the on and off. The panel illuminates, and then you're just going to select whichever method of functioning the fridge you want. So we have 240 volt mains operation, gas operation, and 12 volt battery operation for when the engine is running. A beeping noise from the fridge indicates that you've selected a function which you cannot use at that time. So in this instance I have selected battery, but I do not have the engine running. I also am not hooked up to any mains power at the moment, so I couldn't either select 240 volt. My only option at the moment, as I have the gas bottle open, would be to run the fridge on gas. If we want to use our space heater using gas, then we use this control knob here on the top of the heater on the right hand side. We just push that down, turn it round to number 5, and then release, and we'll hear the heater come on. Over on this side of the heater, on the left hand side, we can then switch the fan on to distribute the warm air throughout the van. If you're at a campsite and you have a 240 volt mains hookup, then it's possible for you to run your electric space heating. To do that, you use the controller here. You have 3 settings: a 500 watt output, a 1 kilowatt output and a 2 kilowatt output. I tend just to use the 2 kilowatt output. So you simply switch that dial into the top position, and then your thermostatic control is in the middle here. As before with gas setting, you'll use the fan on the top of the heater to distribute the warm air. When you're heating your hot water tank, you've got your two options again, either gas or electricity, and you have your two controllers here. On the right hand side gas, and on the left electric. If you're using gas, then you need to remember to remove the cover on the exterior of the van, which we showed earlier in the demonstration. And then you're going to switch the switch here into the top position 50 degrees. If you're going to use an electric operation, you don't need to remove the cover from the exterior of the van. All you're going to do is put the switch here down into the bottom position with the 3 bars, and that will activate your water heater. In both situations it will take around about 20 to 25 minutes for your tank to heat fully. Okay, the most important thing about the toilet operation is the operation of the trap. So when you're going to use the toilet, obviously you're going to lift the bowl. You want your waste to go directly down into the removable cassette that we showed earlier. So in order for that to happen, we open the trap on the toilet bowl here by pulling the lever towards me. We can then use the toilet. The waste will go directly into the cassette. We can flush using the button behind. And then when we're finished, as important as opening the trap is, we need to close the trap again by pushing it away from me. It's important to note that the removable cassette cannot come out of the van unless the trap here is in the closed position. So if you're having any difficulty removing the cassette from the side of the van, it's probably because you have not closed the trap. Okay, to make up the rear lounge bed here, quite a simple task. We're just going to use the existing cushions here, and at the bottom here of the back seat we have a extending rail which pulls out, providing the base of the bed. Pull this piece to the end here. We take this piece from the back and this piece here also from the back, and we have a double bed. Okay, your second double bed in the van here is in the front living section. You have your belted seats and your dinette here, and you're just going to quite easily convert this to a sleeping area by removing the table from the rail, folding up the leg. The table will then sit down into the rails between the two seats, and then you can use the extra infill cushions which are provided to make up the second bed here. Okay, so we've got the double overcab bed here. You can see it just now in the travelling position, which allows easy access between the driving cab and the motorhome area of the van. When you want to set this up as your bed, you're simply going to pull the frame back here. We'll bring our ladders down, which have been stored there while we're travelling, and then we'll bring our mattress down too, and then we can access here using the ladders. Okay, an added feature of this bed is the child safety barrier, which if you've got the kids sleeping up there at night, if you're worried about them falling out, this will prevent that happening. It's very simple to use. It's attached to the mattress here. I'm just going to simply remove the bar here. There's two little holders for the bar to hook into, so that provides the barrier to stop them falling out. And then up here you've got some Velcro pads which will allow the device to stick up as well.